Welcome back to The Big Issue on City TV and also on City 973. My name is Godfred Akoto-Boafo, and we spent the past hour discussing, analyzing the merits of this 25 million Ghana cedi seed money that the National Cathedral Secretariat has received from the Ministry of Finance. And I've been doing this with Kofi Tonto, who's speaking for the government on this matter, Professor Lord Mensah from the University of Ghana Business School, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa. I'm still expecting Mutala Mohammed, Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, at some point, and then Martin Pevu, private legal practitioner. And I'm interested in hearing what your thoughts are on the matter. You can send me messages via two WhatsApp lines, 0549 986 996, 0549 986 996, and 0550 585832, 0550 585832. You can also reach us on Twitter at City973, or you can reach me on Godfred Akoto-Boafo at East Sportsman using the hashtag The Big Issue. Hashtag The Big Issue. You can also check us out on Facebook, City973 and City TV GH. Streaming, you can share the stream, you can leave your comments as well. And if you miss out, you can check us out on CityTube. That's our YouTube channel. Subscribe whilst you are there, and you can catch playback. So we've heard from Kofi, Franklin, and Professor Lord Mensah. But Martin,
yes, could you?
What are your thoughts on this? But I'm sure you've heard Kofi's defense of it, and you followed this conversation at least for the past 3 or 4 years since they started work on
March 2017. So
March
5 years.
5 years now.
5 years.
Yes.
In the making. Oh. Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
Very mixed, extremely mixed. You see, number one, obviously, from my previous utterances and the rest, you guess that I'm not in favor of the cathedral, at least at this time. You see, so it's all about timing. Yes, we are all religious. I'm a Catholic, all right. So, and I went to Catholic school, all that. So in terms of personal faith, yes, I know it's good to build churches and all that. Where two or more are gathered, God is there with them and all that. But when it comes to our national kitty, because we are hard-pressed for money, the cathedral doesn't look good at this time. You see, 5 years on, you see how they are struggling. See how they are struggling. It tells them, so the first message I get from this cathedral project is that, as Ghanaians, we will no longer take just anything that our religious leaders say. No. We've gone past that. So it's even time for the religious leaders themselves to assess where they stand. Because, Godfrey, you know very well that the Board of Trustees is made of all the there's some big colossuses, if I may say so, that you can find in Ghana, the religious leaders. Let's name them. You know, the former chairman was Reverend Dr. Samuel Asante-Ntwi. And the deputy is our own Catholic Archbishop Palmer Buckle. That's the deputy chairman. Then you have Reverend Joyce Ayi, you have Ofe Akrofi, you have Duncan Williams, you have Mensa Otabil, you have Professor Manuel Marty, and so on and so forth. I think that's them, really. Then Unyina, who is now the chairman. So what I mean is that all the big churches in Ghana, their leaders are on it. And yet see how the public is still resisting the project. So it's a strong message to our religious leaders that the society is constantly evolving. People can read for themselves, okay? People are comparing. I mean, if we look at other nations where they don't prioritize religion, and yet they are even better developed than us, okay? Look at the Asian tigers. They've not put religion at the forefront. So when you put religion at the forefront, and especially where we say one thing, our words don't match our actions, it really leaves much to be desired. So this whole project, if let's say we strike another oil field today, you make good discoveries, and so that's like a windfall. Yes, I could vote for the cathedral project. So maybe we can hang it and say, okay, when next we find oil or any other natural resource that is a windfall, then we can take part and do. But if we are going to fund from our current constrained budget, it's just not good. It's not a good thing to do at this time, because it's not as if we are short of places of worship. Because when you look
but
at
as he's clearly said, if you look at the cost, 150 to 200 million, and the government's interest is 20 million.
No,
that's not a lot, is it?
Not at all. That's not the government's interest. The land is 6.3 point something hectares.
Acres or hectares?
Hectares.
It can't be hectares.
The one I have. Well, when the case went to the Supreme Court, I'll come to that side. This is what they quoted. Then it means the Supreme Court judgment will have that mistake. Well, mistakes can happen, but this is what the plaintiff had. That's the Kwabna Bonfe. Yeah, he went to court. He went to court and nobody contradicted it.
Yeah, that's acres.
No, hectares. H-A. Oh, at least.
That's a lot.
Lawyer, this is the work I do. So it's more than 12 acres.
Yeah.
So D. The plaintiff submits, that I'm reading from a Supreme Court judgment, that when the government, a symbol of national unity, they will go to D, allocates 6.32 hectares of prime land. Hectares, H-A.
Okay.
So that means when you're bringing it to acres, that's more than 12.
Okay.
More than 12 acres of land. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, 12 acres of land there. Oh,
that's why you are saying hectares. I'm a bit confused. But maybe the verbiage was wrong somewhere. But because it's behind Parliament, right? And then all the way through where we used to have the National Scholarship Secretariat.
Yes.
All the way to the roundabout.
And some private bungalows are all affected. The judges' bungalows, the High Court of Appeal and all judges' bungalows, the Judicial Training Institute and all that. So the point of making that is definitely not 20 acres. Even this land alone is more than $20 million.
Okay, so the valuation.
This land, an acre of land in Ridge, you can't get for $1 million. No, that's a joke. For $1 million, nobody will mind you. That's just a joke. For 1 acre of land, that's the primest land. Okay, yes. And in the Supreme Court, they say that the government declares that the cathedral is a priority among priorities. Okay, so the point I was developing, so you're asking that, what government is putting in is infinitesimal, right? That's not, in my humble opinion, because our economy is not that big. So this land alone is well over $20 million, right? Now, at the inauguration on March 16, 2017, it was said that, you see the question you were asking, it was said that is the Board of Trustees that will manage the cathedral. They will manage it. So when they are managing, then that means that, presumably forever in charge. Of course, when they die, like the chairman is dead, they will replace and all that. It's really curious. So, Godfred, I'll join your call for government to clarify. Not saying that I'm supporting, but at least let's clarify. So that I say when we make a windfall, government can build. I mean, that one, why not? But at least let's clarify. Because now they were putting in state money and the rest, and they're saying that is this big Osophos who will be in charge of it forever? Okay, then we should get more clarity on the running, because managing such a cathedral is no child's play. It's a big project after it's done. So we will need some clarity on how it will be run, and then as and when we get money and government wants to commit resources, fine. And the curious thing is that as of the time the case went to, the Supreme Court gave judgment in the matter, where they said, well, government can support the cathedral. So actually, that's a decision. 23rd January 2019. So the Supreme Court said, look, yes, government can support a cathedral. It doesn't discriminate against any religion. At least that's the case. The plaintiff couldn't make a case that this cathedral, the government support of this cathedral
is discriminatory.
No. So that's how the action failed. The Supreme Court had some interesting things to say. You see, we are saying that there's no money for NAPCO trainees, national service persons are earning less than 600 and all that. And the Supreme Court said the nation will always be hard pressed. Maybe I can read it. It's interesting. This one I was just looking through it. I said, You see, in the Bible, Jesus said, you always have the poor with you, right? I think that's a similar statement. The Supreme Court said, look, the nation will always be hard pressed. So if the government has decided to support the cathedral, well, we shouldn't say just because we are hard pressed, the project shouldn't go on. No, you will always be hard pressed. Let me see. Okay, so Godfred, I think as I look for that statement, what we should do is that if it's possible, we'll ask the government to slow down on it. When we get money, I mean, we are all religious people. By the calculations, we support, currently our Muslim brothers are going to Hajj. The government supports. It was also part of the Supreme Court case, the Bonfrey case. Supreme Court said yes. If government is supporting Muslims to go on the Hajj, yes, it's all right. It doesn't cause any constitutional breaches. It's not a breach of the Constitution. Yes, so by all means, we're religious people. But when people are hungry and you are building churches, it's difficult.
But it's not just a church. If you listen to Kofi, he says it encompasses so much more.
Yes,
but
like it has very little to do
with religion,
with a place of worship.
Oh, but that's the original idea. Let me state it. The president himself
that would be hard. Hold on. Not even that would be hard to do.
Yes.
If you look at the board, everybody on there is a man.
No.
I get that. At the inauguration, the president said it would be an international worship center. Yes. It will be a place for state funerals. So listen, now from Parliament House, we'll be doing the state funerals there, the funerals of deceased presidents, and all that. Yes, so he said it will be an international worship center.
Yes, I'm not saying it is not. I'm saying it has very little to do. No, but I'm not saying it isn't.
International worship center. That's the president's own word.
If Godfred, if we have about 10 or 11 activities the place is going to do, and one is a worship center for major events,
and we'll build the biggest Bible
that necessarily make it Bible museum
to have the biggest Bible museum in the world.
Yes.
Hey.
Yes. But you see, my question is my question is if it was to be let's say a museum for to celebrate any other aspect of our history, would that be okay? Would we have the funds for it? If it wasn't religious. Because sometimes I get the impression that people are a bit angry because it has religion to it. And that
I don't think so.
No, I think people are.
I don't think so.
Really? So if
it
was a library for, let's say we were building a book, the All African Literature Library, people wouldn't be.
Now, it's the unemployment. I think it's the unemployment.
No,
so
you are not getting my question. I'm saying that
they are angry.
If we were building the same place for African literature, or for any other aspect of our history, will people be this angry? I don't think so.
No, I agree with him to the point that. But here's the situation. Here is where we will, depart from each other. It will be part of a budget that will be put before Parliament, where there would be a certain level of scrutiny.
Yes.
Okay. Which is very different from this, which is where everything has come from. Because, like Franklin said, it would have been hard for people to take note of this 25 million. It would have been done at a certain level. So it would have gone unnoticed primarily. Okay. Now, for these projects that you've spoken about, they would be owned by the state.
Okay, so
this is not, and that's an issue.
So we should,
who owns the cathedral?
No, the cathedral, they're saying it belongs to the state.
It's the state. I've said that several times.
Court decision,
it's from the state. I've said that.
It's for the state.
Yeah. Isn't that a bit confusing?
Yes.
No,
you're right.
You see, confusing. It's for the state, but the state is saying that please help us raise funds for it because we don't want to commit so much to it. So help us raise funds to do something that will be meaningful for the state, but we recognize that the state will not have all the funds. The $100 million, which was the initial amount, is gone up, certainly. So that's, for me, the issue. It was the state. It's never been a case for private citizens. It's never, and I think they even set up a secretariat.
Yes, there is a secretariat.
Yes. So when you talk about management and all of that's why I'm saying maybe we need them to come back to educate us. I think, and
Dr. Polopoku Mensah.
Is it Professor Lord or?
Yes, Lord Mensah, Professor.
Prof, let's be frank. This government has probably done the most when it comes to tourism in recent history. Let's be frank. So when we talk about why is the government not focusing on other aspects of tourism, for me, it's unfair. This nation was literally the African image in 2019. There was never a I mean, there was never a magazine, because where I sat as the head of information, media houses upon media houses reaching out to me about Ghana. Okay. We all saw celebrities coming, everything. Let me put in a very funny comment. There's even a recent news about how African American ladies are coming here to get pregnant. I don't know. I don't know how true it is, but I saw a story like that. Okay. My brother, and now there is beyond the return. Did you know that?
Yes, we know that.
Beyond the return.
Got held up by COVID, but it looks like it's back.
But it's coming, but we are propelling it. Experience Ghana, invest in Ghana, because the beyond the return has a 10-year span. And it focuses on 7 pillars. Experience Ghana, invest in Ghana, diaspora pathways, celebrate Ghana, brand Ghana, give back to Ghana, promote Pan-African and heritage and innovation. There is a school that's being built in Central Region, all on the back of the tourism efforts of this government.
So the point is well made.
So
let's not
I
digress.
Think we must not spend so much, but let's do this, and let's make sure we do it to the benefit of this nation.
All right. So point well made on that. I will move on from that to Imani's financial recklessness index. And listen to Franklin Kujo. So, data from the second Fiscal Recklessness Index 2020 report by Imani Center for Policy and Education has disclosed that a total of 13 billion Ghana cedis in financial irregularities was recorded between 2015 and 2020, which represents about 3.6% of 2020 GDP and an average of 0.5% of yearly GDP. And so I'll play a little report on this and then come back and hear Franklin on why they have a fiscal recklessness index and how the finance ministry, and this is where a problem has come, because I think saying the finance ministry, and the finance ministry has a lot of agencies under it. Yeah. So Franklin perhaps will elaborate a bit more on what happened at the finance ministry. So we'll just take a quick report from Melinda Parr and then we'll continue.
The Fiscal Recklessness Index report, compiled by Imani with support from Oxfam Ghana, utilized the Auditor General's report to assess the fiscal recklessness of ministries, departments and agencies (MDAs), the source of leakages in the public financial management system, and the identified institutional weaknesses that enable waste of public funds to occur. In the report, the Finance Ministry emerged as the ministry with the highest level of fiscal recklessness between 2015 and 2020. According to the report, the Finance Ministry is responsible for 99.63%, that's 9.1 billion Ghana cedis, of the combined 9.12 billion Ghana cedis tax irregularities from 2015 to 2020. Likewise, the ministry accounted for 80.1%, that is 2.35 billion Ghana cedis, of the combined 2.93 billion Ghana cedi cash irregularities from within the 6-year period. Dennis Asare is a research consultant with Imani.
The recklessness in the spending of ministries and departments appears to be across all the public administration system, or it permeates every aspect of our public financial management. Because if you look at the top 5 institutions, there's Ministry of Finance, that's the Central Management Agency. There's a Social Service Ministry, that's Ministry of Health. There's an infrastructure-led ministry, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, Employment, Foreign Affairs. So it appears that it cuts across every aspect of our public financial management system or of our public administration, and we are not seeing much efficiency on the part of these institutions to address irregularities in their spending. When we did the ranking, it gives us a much more clearer picture. So over the period between 2015 and 2020, the most fiscally reckless institution is the Ministry of Finance, and you see that consistently, except 2020, where the Ministry of Health was the most reckless institution, the Ministry of Finance has consistently been, the Ministry of Finance and its subsidiary agencies have been the most reckless institution. And that is because cash and tax irregularities are the main source of the recklessness in our public financial management system, and they are the sector ministry that manages that, or the institutions under them manage that. That's Controller, Accountants General, and GRE. That is why that also influenced the performance of the Ministry of Finance in terms of their level of recklessness.
The Fiscal Recklessness Index 2020 report further disclosed that a total of 13.9 billion Ghana cedis in financial irregularities in 2020. According to the report, the irregularities covered stores and procurement, cash, tax, payroll, rent and contracts among various ministries, departments and agencies. As part of the Centre's recommendations, Dennis Asare tasked the Attorney General to enforce punitive measures against persons or institutions that are found committing financial irregularities in their line of duty.
Against persons or individuals found to have committed irregularities. And we are yet to see the Attorney General fully pushing or prosecuting a public official for engaging in abuse of the public financial management system. And until we do that, people will never be deterred in terms of how reckless they are or how they use public resources. The Office of the Special Prosecutor is new. However, it has the power to even prosecute procurement-related corruption, which brings the Office of Special Prosecutor into our public financial management system. So the OSP must consistently monitor and follow the work of Parliament and ensure that people cited for clear breaches of the procurement law, the sanctions are applied and the corruption-related cases are.
So that's a report by Elenda. But Franklin, why a fiscal recklessness index? I mean, we have several bodies in this country that deal with financial oversight and look at how much money has been lost. We have the Public Accounts Committee. We have the Auditor General's report. We've got the State Enterprises report. Why did you think Imani needed to do a fiscal recklessness index?
Well, thank you very much. I think the reason is just simple. Time without number, we found out that our fiscal, should I call it our fiscal responsibilities, unfortunately, have fallen below what is expected. And I think that year after year, when we read the Auditor General's reports, we see the levels of infractions actually escalating. It is actually important also to make the point that because of the challenges we've had with our fiscal management, is the reason why the state itself has invested quite a number of invested colossal sums in instituting some of these reforms agenda. If you think that culminated in the Fiscal Responsibility Act or so, all of this presuppose that there's a clear challenge when it comes to our management of our finances. So for us, we were just interested in ensuring that the hemorrhaging that we keep experiencing year after year must be put graphically in such a way that people will become quite alarmed and then actually probably do something more about it. You know, what is actually quite worrying again is that anytime we have sought to tighten the loose ends when it comes to our fiscal management issues, the infractions have become way much more. You know, between 2010 and 2014, but by 2016, we knew that we had all these gift mix and as part of the public financial management system that we had introduced, right? But in 2016, we sort of upped the game and passed the the PFM Act itself. And after that, we are seeing that the irregularities have increased by almost 13-fold from the time that we had gift mix between 2010 and 2015. And now, when we seem to have passed some of the fiscally responsible laws and acts. So this is the background for doing this particular work. And time without number, we've seen that tax and cash irregularities have become the conduits for essentially these irregularities. And so that was why we did this. And the Finance Ministry has come up consistently tops simply because the finance ministry itself plays a dual role as a supervising ministry and also as an MDA itself. It is understandable that when the Auditor General conducts its actually publishes its work or does its audits, it typically does not disaggregate the infractions when it comes to those institutions under the finance ministry. But that does not mean that the finance ministry cannot take responsibility because they are supervising these entities. I mean, if an agency like the GRA enters into a contract, and assuming the contract itself is not honored properly, and that the contract itself was not procured properly, and there are infractions as a result of that, there are challenges and there are fallout as a result of that. Well, it's the finance ministry that typically pays the money anyway, and so it must be responsible for that. I mean, that's the spirit, that's the understanding of the way public responsibility matrix actually works. So yes, we understand, and we've made the point categorically clear that the finance ministry should be understood in this stead to mean that it acts as a supervisory ministry as well as an MDA. But if you look at the other agencies, really, if you look at the stores and procurement issues, the payroll issues, the debt and loans, and the contracts, but there are 7 types of irregularities. All of them are related financially. And to the extent that the finance ministry is the supervising and the one that checks off all these payments, it bears the highest brunt. One of the things that we are learning from this is that maybe we should start intervening as accountability watchers. We should start intervening at the level that the ministries and agencies and departments actually come up with their budgets. So that before the finance ministry would say, okay, we endorse these expenditure plans that you have submitted to us, there must be some critical assessment of the various sums, expenditure patterns or plans that the various MDAs actually put up. There's a very short window for the finance ministry to do that. And that's essentially why they should ensure that the internal auditors that are in every organization are given the necessary powers to question every transaction. As we speak, the internal auditors that are part of the financial system do not have access. They only see the transactions, but they have no power to stop these transactions when they have legitimate queries. So much as we've passed all these beautiful laws, it looks as if there are still gaping holes. It doesn't look as if it is actually the case that there are gaping holes that the internally we are not able to strengthen. And so the reasons you see a 13-fold increase from the last time we did an audit, we did the index. It's simply because internal control systems have become lax. And unfortunately, the so-called financial reforms that we've made are not standing to test at all. So this is the background. And
but that's a bit worrying when you say that internal control systems are lax and that the measures that have been put in place, because if you look at the measures that have been put in place over the past few years to ensure that this does not happen, we don't have this kind of, especially within the finance ministry and its affiliates, that's an area for concern, wouldn't you say? You just mentioned we have GiftMist, we have all kinds of payment platforms, we have why are these things not working? And we spent a lot of money on these things.
Not even the digitalization of these entities. It just wouldn't work. You see, there's a reason why technology must match the human capacity or human resource as well. What's the use in digitizing all these platforms when internal auditors have no control? It's a fact. I mean, before this report, we published the procurement irregularities in the country as well. We did a whole analysis from independence, and we iterated the reasons why there are procurement infractions in the country. And we found out quite clearly, to our chagrin, that the internal auditors who are supposed to be the first point of call have not been given the powers in this litany of financial, regulations to even raise a red flag, right? They don't have it. So even when they raise the red flags, they don't have access to first of all, they can't question. because they can't have access to the system to stop the transactions. And so by the time all these things are accumulating, unfortunately, they have been rendered worthless. And that is a critical core mandate that ought to be, realized, even before we start asking for people to be prosecuted. It's important to fix those points of those conduits that encourage these infractions to occur before they actually do. You would also not be surprised if I told you that in terms of the entity tender committees that are set up to bless these contracts, it is lopsidedly heavily in favor of the government appointees. There are no professional bodies that are represented convincingly on those boards to raise red flags. It doesn't happen. So we do know the challenges that afflict our financial systems. Unfortunately, we only see the results and we lament. Some of us have gone to court. I remember Occupy Ghana at the time went to court to enforce this thing. And then we visited the OSP. And I remember we did a paper on the caps of this administration's coming into power. And we said that, look, rather when the OSP was announced that they were going to set up the OSP, we said it's a beautiful idea. But you should be able to take a fine scalpel and scrape off a lot of these excesses, assuming you fix these very small gaping holes that are in our public financial management system. So we'll continue highlighting these things and then say that the challenges really are not beyond the authorities. These things can be fixed, and we become a bit cosmetic about them, really.
Yes, saw improvements.
Say that again.
I said, are there any areas that you saw improvements?
Unfortunately, there isn't any improvement. I mean, if it is escalating, you can only be worried. Of course, you could look at the data and say that from 2016, well, there was a significant raise. The infractions constituted almost what should I say? I mean, the 2017 there was a dip. 2018 they shot up, and it was the highest, by the way. 2018 was when we had the highest number of irregularities, tax and cash irregularities, and then dipped a bit to 2019 and 2020. Right? People have asked why it was the case that in 2018 we saw the highest amount of tax irregularities. Well, explanations obviously would be that the more you spend, the more you ratchet up most of these infractions anyway, right? So unfortunately, we are not even looking at just the year-on-year performance. We are looking at the cumulative impact on our economy, and we are saying that from 1.43 billion Ghana cedis in 2016 to 13.4, a little over 13 billion Ghana cedis is quite high. And truth be told, yes, there may be some steps the Auditor General has taken as a result of the Public Accounts Committee sittings to claw back some of these funds. Unfortunately, there's not been any significant reporting on this. And I bet you, I can bet you that I don't think even 10 or 15% of these funds have been retrieved, especially when we've only heard snippets of it in the media.
Thank you, Franklin, for that. Let me talk to Professor Lord Mensah on this. Prof, a country that doesn't have money regularly is struggling to protect its coffers. Basically, that's what Franklin is saying from the outcomes of this financial recklessness index.
Yeah, I think for me, it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. And we shouldn't see it to be an attack on the policymaker or those technical, employees at the ministries. For me, year in and year out, we've been reporting on revenue shortfalls, expenditures that are not making impact, inefficient expenditure and all those. Then you ask yourself, before the year end, do we really have a tracker to ascertain, the sources of some of these shortfalls that we see, and then possibly expenditures that are not making impact. I mean, the year end. But then I don't know how frequent this index is going to be reported. I know, Franklin, you'll be constrained by budget, so probably you may limit it to yearly reportage. And if it turns up to be yearly reportage, then it might not be real time, because if you look at the drivers of this index, possibly you're looking at cash management, that is, one of the main drivers, and then tax mobilization issues here and there. And these are real issues that happens day in and day out. So if we're looking at reportage, I think this index, the Ministry of Finance itself is supposed to take it up, own it, and possibly look at how to track, possible cash leakages here and there, so that every month, we'll be in tune to see, how our cash management is going and how tax mobilizations are going. And if it's going up, it gives us a prior sentiment as to how things are going to happen at the end of the year. But when we sit down and say, hey, we've had a revenue shortfall, and that's it, nothing happens. So you ask yourself, where does the revenue shortfall come from? Then obviously you know that there are some, cash management issues, delays in check, increase in floating, how checks are deposited, mobilizations of, funds here and there, So effectively, I would say that, yes, it is an index that we're not supposed to take for granted. Because before you talk about revenue shortfall, before you talk about expenditure misappropriation or all those things, some of these tax mobilization issues and cash management issues will precede that, year-end expenditure, misappropriation and then shortages in revenue. So it is something that we have to look at, because it gives us an idea of the short-term, management of activities at the MDA level. And effectively, if we take it serious, I would say we shouldn't, like I said, we shouldn't take it as an attack on the minister or something. We should rather even see it as an attack of the technical employees who are working at the ministries. But then let's take it and then look at how we can increase it. If there are some parameters that are missing in there, of course, indexes are built and they are updated every year now and then. I'm not saying, this particular one is going to be perfect, but it's a good start. We must start from somewhere to know exactly what is happening in the short term before we come to the year-end conclusion that, our revenues have fallen short. If you look at Ministry of Finance and then ministries that were topping this index, clearly it's not surprising, because Ministry of Finance, if you talk about main transactions that are supposed to go on across MDAs and all those, they are handled by them in that ministry. So if an index has come up, giving us the signal that they are the ones stopping, then you take it up and then get to know, exactly what is happening at the ministry. If there are systems you must put in place to ensure that, you block the gaps that are, causing some of these leakages, you do that. So effectively, I would say that it is a very good index. But the timing, making it known to the public, is very, very important. I would have loved to see this in real time, but I know it will be difficult, Franklin. The systems that we have to put in place to capture this, it will be difficult. But it shouldn't be an annual report. At least we should see it on a monthly basis so that it will precede, the possible shortages and, the possible misappropriations that we see in the system. Because we all complain that we do roads and the roads are wiped away. We are not able to, mobilize revenue very well. We turn up, government is losing on fee charges here and there. Then you ask yourself that what is happening? If it's capacity that we must build for people to understand that money's delay is a cost, then we have to do that. So, Franklin, I think we may have to, you have to look at it and look at the frequency of reportage. I don't expect it to be annual, but then it's a very good thing that we must embrace as a nation. Because, we sit here and then we end up saying that our GDP is growing. We sit here and say inflation has dropped. Before inflation, we know prices are going in a certain direction. Do we have an index to track that? Do we have anything to track that? So the sentiment within the economy before the year-end budget readings, we must measure them. And this fiscal index, recklessness index, is one of them. And for me, I embrace it as it's supposed to be. But then let's look at it to enhance it as a nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord. Kofi?
Yeah.
You might have to go back and tell the president that the finance ministry has work to do. And the finance ministry and its affiliates has work to do. We are losing plenty money. 13.9 billion over a 5-year period is significant.
I like that you use the word we are losing. You use the word lost, and I'll come to that. First of all, let me commend Imani and Franklin and his team. I think definitely is important that CSOs go back and help us understand some of these transactions. I think this is a good exercise. I don't necessarily agree with parts of it and how it was done, but I think it's a good exercise. There was one word, when I was reading the reports, there was one recommendation that Franklin and his team made. They said the report needs to be granular. Let's go down and really dig deeper. And it brings me to another point. But for me, I think about 6 months ago, there was a story that said Ghana has lost 12 billion cedis.
In what?
Just like you said, we are losing money. The story said the Auditor General, according to the Auditor General,
report.
in fact, Citi ran a story that Ghana has lost 12 billion cedis. What it turned out to be is what Franklin is referring to, or what the report is referring to. It's not a case as in we've lost money. It's a case of cash irregularities, tax irregularities, a huge percentage that is recovered within a certain period of time. So it's not a case of we've lost the money. It's a case of we couldn't generate that revenue because of irregularities. So it's important that we situate the argument, because if you read Franklin's report, it doesn't talk about losing money. It talks about irregularities, and then it talks about how they came about. And then further, you find out some of these irregularities are clawed back. Franklin even referred to that. So I think we need to make that distinction very clear. So for me, when I first read the story, I'm like, the
report or the story?
The report. I first saw it as a story. It said reckless. And I'm like, oh, why? Did the finance minister do something? Did he take money? I was a bit shocked, when I read the headline. But then when I went into the details, it really became a case of a rehash of the Auditor General's report. When you read the report, Franklin states it very clear. It says that this report is using the Auditor General's report and then analyzing it to essentially tell a story or identify patterns. That's what the report is trying to do, which is a good exercise. But I think the headline was not helpful. It creates it becomes a clickbait headline versus really delving into the issue and helping us understand where the challenges are. So, for example, Lord mentioned about the technocrats. When you say finance ministry, the average Ghanaian tune his mind to the finance minister, usually the politician, right? The average Ghanaian is not going to have the time to read 68-page reports. So usually they just hear the headline and they run with it. We try our best to do a discussion, to delve into it and all of that. And then ultimately, we still don't get to the real issue of correcting such headlines. So I think the headline was not helpful. But then again, I commend Franklin and his team for what they've done. I commend them for trying their best to identify the patterns, the details, and the report to help us see where the irregularities are. So for me, I wouldn't really want to say much except to say that I think they have to do better next time when it comes to how they headline some of these things. But then it's a great exercise. Let's delve into it. Let's do more of such reports to help us identify where the challenges are.
Okay, thank you. Let me hear from the member of Parliament for Tamale Central who has joined us. Mutala, welcome.
Thank you.
You're coming from a funeral?
Yes, I just have to apologize to your viewing public. The late second lady, Aja Alima, the final funeral was today, and His Excellency President Mahama asked myself and my brother Honorable Soyini and Alaji Hudu Yahya to represent him, but he's not in the country currently. In fact, the program is still ongoing, so I had to leave. His Excellency the President also had to leave midway because of the ECOWAS meeting they have. So I just want to apologize too.
No problem.
Let me also apologize that I have some little cold, so if my voice is
a bit low.
Yes. And it's good to be here.
As always.
Good morning to your viewing public. To lawyer. Lawyer was a lawyer of my opponent in court. When I was impeaching my JCR president, we were in court for 1 year. He was the lawyer of Poison, the then JCR president. Very sharp lawyer. I mean, you make us proud, honestly, when I watch you. He gave us tough time. Agaga was my lawyer, you know, in legal. Who is this? And I haven't shared a platform with you.
No, we haven't met before.
Yes, we haven't.
Yeah.
The name is
Kofi Tonto.
Yeah, we haven't met.
Very open-minded. I'm impressed.
Which institution?
He's speaking for the government today.
Oh, okay. It's just that some of the things he said I disagreed. Anyway.
Oh, you can happily
But
disagree.
that one they expected it.
but he's been very open-minded.
It's okay, go on.
Well, I'm yet to see the open-mindedness.
You just got here.
I just got here. Yes, and I
see that you've been pitching people for a long time.
I'll join him in commending Imani. They did an outstanding work, and I urge them that they shouldn't stop. Even inshallah, after the NDC comes into office in 2025, I urge them to continue with this. For me, it is our collective responsibility to sanitize the system, to ensure that our governance and democracy works. One of the most important ingredients of any decent, acceptable democratic governance is transparency and accountability. You are given the responsibility to manage the resources belonging to over 30 million Ghanaians. You have a moral duty to manage it in a manner that when you leave office, the next government would come and continue on a very good footing. I've been telling my constituents that having been elected as a member of parliament and as a Muslim, a practicing Muslim, the Almighty Allah will ask me to account for every single dime that I have taken in the name of the people of Tamale Central. Muslims believe even your children and your wife and your children on the day of judgment, Allah will ask you how you took care of them. It's a moral duty. So when you squander money belonging to this number of people, on the day of judgment, you are going to account to every single citizen of this country. And that is why I urge our religious leaders not to just be interested in spiritualism. They should also be interested in preaching on these moral values. That for me is important if we want to have a good country. I listened to Prof. Lloyd Mensah, and I disagreed with him when outstanding points he made anyway, but I disagreed with the aspects of his statement when he said that the Minister for Finance shouldn't see it as an attack on him. It should be seen as an attack on the technical employees. And I guess my brother also went there. That attack should be on the minister, not the technical employees.
Why?
You are the political appointee. Those technical people work under your influence. You take the final decision. So if you have a technical men who are working with you and they are not, fire them or move them and bring in people who can do that. So I disagree with those who think that the blame should go to the technical people. Of course, they may take part of the blame, but the ultimate responsibility is on the political appointee.
But isn't it such a huge construct?
So why would
GRE, Auditor General in this? He can't be everywhere. He has people.
No, he can be everywhere. If he can't, then he should move and let someone who can be there to be there. Why would you blame the technical people and not the minister? He takes the final decision. All the technical people work under his beheads.
That's easy, isn't it?
No, the decision. No, it's not easy to say. The decision to run the ministry is the decision of the minister. Policies are formulated by the technical people through the direction of the minister. You determine which policy you want to formulate. If you decide that today we are not going to do this, the technical people cannot say anything. If they give advices, you can decide not to take those advices. How do we know that some of the recklessness with which we are having this discussion are not occasioned by the fact that the political appointees refuse to heed the technical advices of these technical men? So the ultimate responsibility is the political appointee and not the technical people. If you have a technical person who is not fit to do the job, you move him and bring somebody. Why is it that anytime a new government comes, they move, directors and chief directors and others? Because the minister feels that he may not be able to work with certain people based on his vision. Now, if you have a minister of finance who has his former employees in his private sector who are choked in the ministry, and there's a mess, who do you blame? Look, to be very honest, let's call a spade a spade. This minister is still the minister of finance because he has a family relation with the president. He has messed up. Look, and I will give you the evidences. I will provide the evidences. The ultimate objective of every government is to improve the living conditions of its people. Is that not the case? Everything we are doing, improve the living conditions of people. And the improvement of the living conditions of the people borders on many things. The economy should be stable. It should grow in such a manner. Security should be maintained. The security maintenance boils down to money. I am saying that look at the debt portfolio of this country and what is there to show. Who manages the economy? He. Unemployment under the NDC, for which reason the NDC was described as incompetent, was 6.8. 6.8. And if economic management and financial management has everything to do with unemployment. You people said President Mahama was incompetent. Now you have appointed your cousin who you think that he had the magic wand to solve this economy. Today, per the census that was done, unemployment is over 19%. And in fact, the 2022 financial statement submitted by this minister for and on behalf of the president, unemployment is 12.6%. So on the issue of creating jobs for the people of this country, this minister and this government has failed. 2, let us look at the debt portfolio. What was debt to GDP? Today they are telling us that we shouldn't focus on these figures. And I'll focus on the figures and come to talk about the living conditions of the people of this country.
All while staying within the remits of the Imani recklessness report. Of course, you are straying from my report.
I am not.
Okay.
Imani recklessness it has everything. Listen.
He's a true politician.
The Imani recklessness. Why would they be focused on recklessness? Assuming with this recklessness, jobs were created, the economy was growing. Would we be talking about recklessness? We are talking about recklessness because we have spent and there is nothing to show for such expenditure. So it has everything to do with it. Today, debt to GDP. What was it under NDC? A little below 60%. You said President Mahama was incompetent. You appointed a minister for finance whose responsibility it was to ensure that our debt to GDP was below 40%. Today, by official figures, it's 81%. We as minority calculate it to be 83+% because of other debt portfolios which haven't been added. So the minister once again has failed on the issue of even the statutory bodies. Funds that are supposed to be released, funds you have no other excuse because you are obligated by law to release those funds. You have an NHI. This government, NHI is owing its service provider 2 billion. Yet we found 25 million to give to people to build a cathedral, rather illegally and fraudulently without any approval of Parliament. As we see today, how much is the dollar to the cedi? Under President Mahama and under Setepe, the dollar to the cedi was around 3.6%. You said he was incompetent. Today it's over 8%. You think that this minister...
Over 8 cities.
Over 8 cities. You think that if this minister had no family relations with this president, he would have still been the minister? No! He has failed in every aspect of managing the economy of this country as a minister for finance. Tell me one single area that he has achieved. We have been told that we have to pay higher prices for fuel because of Ukraine-Russia conflict. When the same minister in 2019, in the financial statement, told us that we are now a net producer of crude. And if you are a net producer of crude, because what we produce, and yes, to check the 2019 financial statement.
Wow.
And so if you are a net producer of crude, what it simply means is that you use less the crude you produce. Of course, we don't use the crude we produce. But when you bring in the refined oil, the crude, you take the difference. What it simply means is that anytime there is a global surge in the prices of crude, we benefit because there's a windfall. In fact, last year, we made about 300 million when crude was sold a little over $60 per barrel. So anytime crude is sold a little over $100 a barrel, we're making $40 per each barrel. Now, yet we are paying an astronomical prices for fuel prices in this country.
Yeah, so we make ours is just about a fifth of what we import. Yeah,
I'm saying that go and read the 2019.
Can I contribute to what he's saying?
Yes, I'll give you space, don't worry.
So we only produce about a fifth of what we consume.
I'm saying that read the 2019 budget. Don't take my words.
I've read the PIAC report. It talks about everything you are talking about, except that what you are saying is not. It's not as simple as he's making it seem.
How is it simple?
Because if you consume 4.3 billion liters of oil, okay, and then the barrels you are talking about, we only get 17% of our overall 65 million barrels a year that we make. We get only 17% in royalties, in what we call participating, and then taxes total.
How many barrels were we producing under the NDC in 2016 a day?
I can get the data. I can get the data. How many? But I can't tell you offhand how many barrels a day.
Little over 40,000. We are now producing close to 200,000 or more. So
under 40,000 because the turret, Tano had issues with turret.
No,
my brother,
we didn't discover oil wells.
If you look at the PIAC report,
because we didn't start. Listen, we had just one oil well under the NDC. By the time the NDC left office, we discovered 2 additional oil wells.
Yes. But the first one, we do about 120,000. The tariffs had problems.
Forget of even the tariffs. I'm just talking about what we were producing. Yeah. Because the simple logic is that if you produce less, no matter the tariffs, the
tariffs, that goes for
the current, no matter what, just suppose that if you are producing more, certainly you would have some windfall. I'm saying that we are now producing more than we were producing. But granted that let me finish.
Production has reduced.
Let me finish. Granted, 40% of the amount of money we pay for fuel is about tax buildup. For which reason you held series of press conferences.
40% is tax buildup.
Check it.
Tax buildup is 2 points something.
No. It's even actually about 50%.
50. Check it. It's not 2.something%.
No, not percent. Cities. The total buildup.
I said 40% of what we pay per liter.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. It's not taxes. There are taxes.
Okay. So it reduces by 40%.
50%.
So how much is a liter now?
So if you take I'm not talking about. I'm just talking about I'm talking about the tax buildup.
Okay.
Which culminated to how much you pay for a liter.
Yeah, I know it's 2 CDs, 40 pesos.
Let me see if I can.
The total
we do this, I will take a next break.
I know. The total of
calculate.
Tell them I'm not in, Tell them. When you evade taxes, you put yourself at risk of prosecution. Do the right thing. Pay your duties and taxes online, through the bank, or from your phone on time. And let's build a great nation.
We're back at the big issue, discussing Imani's financial recklessness report that the Honorable Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, the Honorable Mutala Mohammed, is raising questions about. And he has significant issues with the performance of the finance minister across the board, including on matters of supervising the agencies that is the thrust of
the minister.
The point you are making. You are saying, those who are saying don't blame the minister, but look at the people who work under him. You don't agree. Professor Lord Mensah wants to make a quick point. He says, because you made a reference to a point he made, and he wants to respond to that. But you can also send your messages 0549986996, 0550585832. Professor Lord Mensah, let me hear you quickly.
Yeah, I think Honorable Mutala needs to understand the drivers of this recklessness index, built by Iman. Clearly, the drivers are cash management, and then tax, mobilization or irregularity issues. These are day-to-day, activities which are at the level of the technical, employees of the ministries. Before the finance minister get to know that there has been, delays in check deliveries, delays in payment, misappropriations, tax obligations, not being satisfied here and there. It would have been too late then, because the finance minister deals with management information, management data. And so effectively, if I say that, the technical employees of the ministry should take it upon themselves to accept this index as a measure or a benchmark of their performance so that they can improve on it. That is my thought. It's not that I'm saying the finance minister shouldn't own up. If at the end of the quarter or quarterly meeting, the finance minister get to know that the index is going up and therefore it's a signal of cash mismanagement and tax delay payments and all those are happening, then he can take decision as a manager. But then in the end, we cannot take away the technical employees of the ministries to be part of this index. That is my counter to the...
No, Prof. I guess you didn't, and maybe you got me wrong. What you said, and I wrote exactly the words you used. You said that the Minister for Finance should not see it as an attack on him. Rather, it should be an attack.
Sure.
It should be an attack on the technical employees.
Well, then maybe you did not hear me well.
No,
what I said was,
Doc, Prof, I wrote it actually.
It shouldn't be. They shouldn't see it as an attack.
No, Prof. We are saying the same thing. I have a lot of challenges, but audio impedance is none of those challenges. Sure. The point I'm just making, we are virtually saying the same thing. Right. My view is that I agree. I'm not saying that you are entirely saying that the minister should not take blame. It should be the technical people. My position is that the minister was appointed to supervise the work of the technical people. So if anything goes right there, the minister will be praised and not the technical people.
Yeah. In this country, but the timing that
timing I disagree, because the timing is that you are supposed to monitor the work of these technical people every day, every minute, every second. Because look, Prof, if I may,
the ministry deals with channels of reportage.
No, I agree, but everything the buck stopped with the minister.
My brother, can I give you an example?
So that is.
Can I give you an example?
Okay.
So when I was at the embassy,
which embassy?
Washington.
Okay.
So I was the head of information there.
Yeah.
And my job included traveling with the ambassador.
Okay.
Now every time you travel, you need to put in, you have to do a minute to request for funding.
Yeah.
They will give it to you. They usually will give you a check and you go and deposit, get the cash. And then based on all your expenses, you come back, report
to the ambassador. To the
ambassador? No. To the accounts department.
Okay.
Not to the ambassador, the accounts department. Mm-hmm. So I come back. Now, what happens is that sometimes we'll be traveling for so long, I wouldn't be able to go to the office for a long period of time.
But you finally get to the office anyway.
No, you find. But what happens is that the time when you read the report, it's even talking about time.
What period?
No. Within the year or within whatever time you have to report.
What period is the report covered?
This what report? Franklin's report?
This one.
I think it's 2020.
2020. So we're in 2022.
No, right? But it's covering a specific time period.
So which time period? That's what I want to know.
No, we can find. I think it's 2016.
When I listen to Prof.
But let me finish my point.
Prof, you suggested that if Imani could be doing it every month.
Yes, sure.
The rationale, if I don't get you wrong, the reason why you suggested that if Imani could be doing it every month is so that we can keep on track.
Yeah.
That will give us a very clear picture as to how these resources are managed, isn't it?
Yeah, but Imani's report is on the back of the Auditor General's report.
Since when
Imani hasn't generated any data.
I'm coming. Even you made a statement.
But they interview some key stakeholders.
Yes, but that's not data.
No,
that's not data.
Since when have you become an unsolicited attorney of Prof? I was asking Prof the question.
But in any case, I wanted to give you an example.
That point on even the Auditor General, you are getting it wrong. I serve in the Finance Committee of Parliament. We have gone around. I'm a member of the Finance Committee. That you said, and once again I wrote it. When they said that Ghana lost 12 billion, Auditor General's report, and you said that you even made reference to
I said that.
Yes. Let me tell you, it is a money lost. It is not about what Imani is saying. This 12 billion could not be accounted for. It's completely different. I'm saying that it could not be accounted for. It is not about what Imani is saying. It could not be accounted for. Look, we just finished the 2018 public hearing. Those monies could not be accounted for. Finito. Is money lost?
No, that's not true.
I'm saying that
some are taxes that they fail to collect.
Yeah, and they paid it back. They've done clawbacks.
You see, if you have a withholding tax, that is supposed to be paid back. And then the withholding tax is not paid back. Necessary documentation are not available. Where those monies are? It is a money lost. Look, I can tell you, we have referred not less than 50 institutions to the Minister of Justice and Attorney General for prosecution. Hither to the auditor, the Public Accounts Committee wasn't doing that. And when we went round, the Northern Zone, the Bunu regions, the Western and Central, the Greater Accra, we have referred not less than 50 for prosecution. Why would we do that? The recommendation of the Auditor General is that those monies could not be accounted for. These people were given the opportunity to provide evidence. Perhaps the Auditor General got it wrong. They couldn't. And for which reason, they have been referred to the Minister for Justice and Attorney General for prosecution. So, my brother, is money lost.
That there are instances where people couldn't account for what they did, the irregularities. Okay. But a chunk of the irregularities. Because
the argument now is about the chunk.
No, yeah, because
whether Jonah swallowed the fish.
No.
Or the fish swallowed Jonah.
That's not the case here.
It's okay. Both your times have elapsed. Let me read.
But it's important we educate people.
It's important.
Don't worry, people are educated. Let me take messages. Godfred, I promised to house the homeless Kayu and God, who already has thousands of houses in Ghana. Let me sense if I leave the homeless car, you're still homeless, and build extra house for God. Already has millions of houses, even some in the hearts of human beings. He says the island, even the Malian ambassador's residence was demolished, and the government is building a new one for him. The cost of the cathedral will run above $100 million. James from Dansuman is not very happy with the building of the cathedral. Good morning. I totally agree with the Member of Parliament for Tamale Central. The finance minister should be blamed for all the irregularities and not his technical team. This is DJ Bruce from Tumu. Prince Henry is also not very happy. He says the government is giving away 25 million cedis, but is paying 97 pesos per child for school feeding. Can't print textbooks for basic schools since 2018. I think the printing is happening, just as an update. He can't pay NAPCO trainees and youth in afforestation. He's also not very happy. So keep the messages coming. I have quite a few more I'll read before the end of the show. Let me now move to WA, which I will use as a focal point for a conversation about the police and citizen relations. And then also perhaps a conversation about customary law and constitutional law as we have it. Which one? You missed that part. Mutala, you missed that part.
The conversation I had with your producer was that should I come, I'll be given the opportunity to say something on it.
All right, I will find a way to make this work. I'm sure my panelists my panelists are thoughtful people.
I said that it's not a panelist. You promised me that.
But you're elite.
Except that you want to behave like Nanado.
But you're elite.
You chipped in it.
No. This was the promise. So if you want to behave like the president,
let me introduce my next.
I know that you have become part of the president.
I'll take a quick break and then introduce the next leg, the next insert that I have to play, which is on the just the flogging and also the youth in the area besieging the police command. And it took 2 hours for over 100 policemen, led by the police commander, the Upper West Regional Commander, DCOP Peter Indekugri, to ward off the angry youth. And this was based on the youth feeling that they had been treated unfairly in the matter. The matter has been to court. Some people were arrested. They've been given bail by the judge in the matter. Like I said, the focal points will be two things: religion and the law, and then police and citizen relations. Because we've had similar incidents. Everybody remembers the poor old woman who was lynched, and what emerged out of that. And then we've also had the flogging, but we must look at context in all these things. Why some of these things still pertain. Some say we're in a democracy, we should not see this. Others also say, well, these areas have their own rules and regulations for how they deal with some of these things. So we will try and make sense of that when we return from this break. Welcome back to the big issue. Like I said, dealing with matters in Wa, but my producer indeed did make a promise to Anabu Mutala that
Comrade Mutala
that once he arrives, he will give him 5 minutes on the cathedral.
Thank you.
So you have your 5 minutes, and then I'll go to Lawyer Kwebu to begin this conversation on the mix between religion, customary law, and the constitution, which is what led to the riots that we had.
And the hypocrisy of the Ghana Bar Association and the Amnesty International.
You can add all those. You can put all that in, but on the cathedral quickly.
Well, first and foremost, I am a Muslim, and I have profound respect for every religion, more so Christianity. And I attended a mission schools, and in fact, I did Bible knowledge for 1 year. I got A and A minus. I just wanted to have an appreciation of the faith. And as a Muslim, one of our articles of faith is that you should believe in Jesus Christ. Where the difference is the belief we all have. The name Jesus is mentioned in the Quran 25 times. The name Muhammad is mentioned only 5 times. In fact, there is a whole chapter for Maryam, that is Mary, mother of Jesus. And there's a whole chapter for Imran, which we believe is the father of the husband to Mary. We believe that Jesus Christ's creation was by the will of Allah. He was not given birth to through the sperm that each and every one of us. So it's very important. And I'm also making this statement because I was on a program and something came up. People tried to compare the building of the cathedral to the mosque, the central mosque built here. Let me be very clear. That mosque was never built by the Turkish government. Government of Ghana had no dime in that mosque, no cedi. That land on which the mosque was built was a state land. And it was given to Muslims as compensation over the demolition of a mosque at Rollins Park. You remember Rollins demolished a mosque, which was on several acres of land to build the Rollins Park. This was a private Muslim who owned that land, had title, everything. The mosque was there, it was built, it was destroyed. So the state, and you remember that time, it created a lot of problems between Muslims and the military junta. So to compensate the Muslims, Rollins gave the land. It wasn't full because if you demolish a mosque and took the land and everything, you should have built the mosque, but the state gave that. Reverend Mensah Tabil's mosque was also a state land given to the church, and that's one thing many people do not know. The mosque that was built there was built by a private businessman in Turkey. The reason why the Turkish embassy was involved because it was his money, and as a citizen of Turkey, he wanted to have oversight responsibility, supervise the way the mosque is going to be built, and that was why the Turkish government, through the Turkish embassy, was involved. Turkish government didn't have a dime in it. The state didn't contribute a dime in it. So let's get this very, very clearly. Now, nobody is against the building of cathedral. I have contributed in helping several churches when I was in Nantong as the MP for the area. There's a place called Janjar Kuku. I roofed it. I provided a lot of facilities for the church because that is what I am enjoying to do as a Muslim and a believer. Now, the reason why we have problems, people have problems with this, is not about, this was what the president said, that he had a personal agreement with his creator, that he made a pledge with his creator. That building of the mosque was not in the MPP's manifesto. If it was in the MPP's manifesto, we would have said that Ghanaians approved the building of the mosque.
The cathedral.
The cathedral. If it was in the manifesto and NPP won elections, by extension, Ghanaians have given an approval because we vote based on the manifestos presented by the various parties. He said his personal pledge he made with his creator. So if you make a personal pledge with your creator, why must that be a responsibility on the state? 2, now you also said that you are going to support in providing some assistance for the seed capital. This is what the president told us. Now, only for them to take 25 million for this cathedral. And if you read the statement, the letter written by the Minister of Finance to the Controller Accountant General, it means that they had released some monies before. Now, the monies were also released to an international company, a foreign company. Our constitution is very clear. If you want to get into any international transaction or transaction with any international entity, it must have parliamentary approval. No. Now, it was also not found in the 2020.
Notwithstanding the amount, just to be clear.
But the amount is even huge.
No, I'm just saying, notwithstanding the account. I just want clarity on that. Even if it's $1.
Yes, the Supreme Court says that they should establish the materiality threshold, but they've not yet done it. Parliament, that one, Parliament is to do it.
And lawyer, another thing is that it is not found in the 2022 financial statement. Running a government is not like selling Killy Willy on the street, that you decide that you can remove money any day. That is why when even budgets are approved, there is the need for having approved the budget, government cannot, until appropriation is also approved. It means that there are rules and regulations governing the conduct of managing public purse by anybody, any state. Okay. The other thing is that when the issue was raised, I listened to the Deputy Minister for Finance, my good friend, Honorable John Kuma. He said,
3 minutes.
I was shocked. He said that, yes, it was in the 2018 budget, and therefore, if we couldn't release monies in 2018 and the work is going to be done in 2020, you could. And I wonder whether my brother is having time to learn. I know he's a first-timer in Parliament. Once that budget life expires, if you want to do that, you must put it in the 2022 budget. In any case, when we check in the 2018 budget, they just mentioned the building of the cathedral and the need to support in providing the seed capital. At no point in that time did they state how much they were going to give us a state. So why would the government do that? My question is, why would you mock religion? Why would you want to build the house of God, at the back of pact of lies, deceit, and illegality? Why would you want to do that? Now, the Minister for Finance engaged in something he ought not engage in. The Chief Imam contributed towards the building of the cathedral. I have no qualms at all, even contributing towards the building of the cathedral. Just recently, Pastor Mensa Otabil provided paint for the painting of the Central Mosque at Obusokai. He did that in his private capacity. The Chief Imam did that in his private capacity. I can do that in my private capacity as someone who thinks that I have a moral duty and a responsibility to assist in the building of a cathedral. But you cannot do that with public funds. The laws are very clear. You need to do ABCD. Why would they disregard all of these things? That is my problem. So you don't build the house of God on the pact of lies, deceit, and thievery. You don't do that. And that is exactly what this government engages in.
Your point is well noted. Now let me come to
Thank you for honoring your promise.
Let me come to WA. And I'm sure everybody has seen the video. I'm not going to show the video on the big issue. Led to the riots. And like I said, we've seen the explanations that have come. And I'm sure, Lawyer Kwibu, you have followed this. The questions that have arisen are many on this. And like I said, it's twofold. The religion and the law, or traditional rules and the law, and then the police and citizen relationships, based on the incidents that happened after. And perhaps if the police had also played an act, there are those who have said, and I share that sentiment, that if the police had intervened at the point of the gathering before the flogging, perhaps we would not have had the riot. And they say they were not aware it was happening. I say, how do 200 people gather in front of the paramount chief's palace in the middle of town, War Township, and nobody sees, including the police? I have, but those are different things. But
intelligence failure.
Yes. How do we put the two together? Because I know there are people who agree with the flogging. Let's not think that there are people who disagree with the flogging. There are people who agree with the flogging based on what the said victims were supposed to have done or alleged to have done. Your thoughts, basically.
Yeah, so, well, in every society, look, it's bound to happen that you will hardly get 100% all of the population agree on any matter. I like this popular example that even independence, when Kwame Nkrumah was fighting for independence for us, you read his books, one of which I have here. People were opposing him. Didn't people send a delegation to England to go and tell the Queen that, no, we are not interested in this independence?
No, I just say that the MPP did that.
No.
Why are you running away?
No,
we have to inform the public. Just tell them that Buzia led the team. We are told the Queen that they were not interested in independence.
Let's stay in
It's Buzia who led the team to meet the Queen. In fact, he said that it was charlatans who were agitating for independence. State is as it is.
I don't know why I put it to you that there's no Mutala.
They are shaking.
No, but you state as it is. I don't know what his fear is.
Let's say Opeteku has been driven away. So many other. But please, the point, you see, the reason I chose that big example is because, as citizens, I have to use an example that makes sense. So it tells you that even something, today we are free like this, and see how we're enjoying our freedom. Something we cherish so much, and that's why we live here. Otherwise, if we didn't cherish this freedom, we'll be elsewhere, right? Yet even that one, people said, no, we don't want independence. Let the Queen continue, right? So you always have naysayers. That's the point. You will always have naysayers. If somebody were to appear here to share money, you think everybody will agree? No. Another person say, we don't know the source of your wealth, so I'm not taking it. Do you see it? So the examples ad nauseam. So the point I'm making is that as a society, we will go with the rule of law. The Constitution makes it clear that we've chosen that we want to live as a democratic state. You read Article 35, 37, you see it there. You see, so we've chosen democracy, okay? And as part of the tenets of democracy, rule of law, what does the law say? The law says that if you find anybody to have engaged in conduct which is against the law, if it's a civil matter, you can choose to go to court personally, if it's a civil matter. If it is a criminal one, you go straight to the police. So, in one word, the young people there had no business flogging the young man and the lady for engaging in a sexual conduct which was private. Because number one, yes, even though there is a video making the rounds, can we say for certain that they leaked it? If you have evidence that it's that young man and the lady who leaked the video, you take it to the police. Yeah. So there is no space, Godfred, absolutely no space for flogging. No, and I'm sure they also know it. Perhaps they thought the long arm of the law will not catch them. I'm sure that's what it is about.
But is there no, if you listen to the narration, they say that there had been several of such incidents, they had been discussed within the community, and the set punishment from the traditional authority was, if we catch you, we'll flog you. Yeah, based on our beliefs. Is there no room for that?
No, there's no room. So you come to the custom. So we have customary laws, okay? But the Constitution itself makes it clear that any law which is inconsistent with the Constitution is null and void. That's why even our elected representatives, when they meet, Honorable Mutala is here, and they pass laws, if we find that the laws are illegal, the Supreme Court strikes them down, okay? Yes, so
except that birth certificate is not a proof of a citizenship, but the document it procures is more a proof. Just add that one to lawyer.
So the point is that please, you can meet. Yes, there is space for customary law. Like, so let's say marriage. Godfred, you want to marry, they'll tell you, okay, by custom, you have to get the consent of the lady. So as a man, the lady's parents, these are the drinks you have to bring and all that, right? Okay, so those are the laws. They are in tandem with the Constitution. But if any person engages in conduct which the Constitution doesn't allow, please, that's an aberration of the Constitution. And so we can't countenance it. So what we're saying here is that there is a freedom. Two consenting adults have had sex in private. As I said, the key thing is that who leaked the video? That is where they should channel their energies. Then when you find the leakers, you report the leakers. That's the law. Because they are the people who circulated it. You see, so when you circulate it, then there are laws against obscenity in the Criminal Offences Act. Okay? Yes, and even if you send it online, now they are even making it more stiff.
Yeah, 15 years.
And all that. So the whole thing, so please, the custom, let's repeat, the chief has no locus to make any law about flogging. Please, Godfred, there is no contradiction in this area. They are free persons, adults. The chief has no locus to make a law for instant flogging. No, he has no locus.
So the chief has no locus. Well, so don't we have space for areas where you can say the law is not as entrenched, if so to say, and those areas are governed primarily by traditional tenets and religious tenets? Don't we have those elements, even though there might be a certain presence of the state there?
Yes, that's why I said they are there. Look, even in the Constitution under Article 11. So what you want, let's state it, then I will show the distinction. The common law of Ghana shall comprise the rules of law, generally known as the common law, the rules generally known as doctrines of equity, and the rules of customary law. You see what you're talking about, including those determined by the Superior Court of Judicature. Customary law, and customary law means the rules of law which by custom are applicable to particular communities in Ghana. So, Godfrey, that's Article 11. So it's there. There is a long line of cases about customary law. So the customary law doesn't include barbaric acts, doesn't include instant justice. No, that one is very clear. So, look, let's come this way. Very good. The killers of Major Mahama, they are in court. So they thought Major Mahama was a thief, okay, or a fugitive. They are in court.
The lady who was lynched by the priestess and co. They're also in court.
And then a healthcare worker, or a health worker, Minister of Health or something, Atroni in the Brown Half region, almost over 15 years ago, he was lynched. So they convicted them. We can go on ad nauseam. So many examples. So perhaps, I don't know, maybe, the media, you do education. So perhaps put together these cases. We can help you unearth more of them, of cases in which citizens did instant justice and they also have faced the law for it. Because, so the man flogging under Section 84 of our law, assault. Yes, assault. He can. And in natural fact, if assault is a misdemeanor, you get, when you are convicted, a video shows him caning the guy. If you're convicted, you get from a fine up to 3 years imprisonment. And I'm sure, yes, but now he'll be thinking twice. And if there was any harm, because of the video, you look and see if there was any harm. If the police want to teach him a lesson, they can even escalate it. Instead of assault, they would say that causing harm. Yeah, causing harm with an offensive weapon. If they like, right? They can make it very nasty for them. I'm sure maybe we all will understand that today. We are still learning.
So you are clear in your mind that what happened there should not have happened.
Yeah, so let me show you other exampps. So, Godfred, these things have been
going. Something.
So there are other things about these customary laws. Okay, you hear in some customs, they say, what do you call it? We have this custom. This is how we do it, all right? Then the matter goes to court, the court will look at it and see if it's allowed. So you've heard this tribal deal. So they say, okay, come and swear if you are not the one who killed and the rest. Yes, but it's here. Tribal deal is prescribed under the law. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. Barbaric widowhood rights, trocosi, all those things. So it's a custom, but the law prescribes them. So please, there's absolutely no space. So this is how we go about it. You see what the Constitution says in Article 11. Your customary law will stand if it is consistent with the Constitution. If it is consistent. So you tell me, when there is a law court in your town, on what basis can you catch somebody and start flogging him? No, it can't stand.
So it means the law is present there?
Yes.
Okay. Mutala, you might be able to provide some insight because of the prominence of Islamic religion, where you come from. And the explanation that has been given, and part of this was that the incident, what the people did, went against the tenets of their religion. And so punishment had to be given, although the punishment is not what has not been attributed to their religion. But they are saying that this is what the chief said we should do.
Let me say that there have been a lot of, misinterpretation and sometimes outright, misunderstanding of what happened there. I monitored a sister radio station yesterday. I don't want to mention the radio station's name. And they brought in speakers. Two of the speakers happened to be Muslims. And at the end of the day, they concluded that what happened there was a Sharia. Absolute nonsense. Mm-hmm. Absolute nonsense.
That's it.
That what happened at the Wanas Palace has nothing to do with Islam. Mm-hmm. And the people never said it has to do with Sharia. Mm-hmm. They never said so. Mm-hmm. The fact that the people are predominantly Muslims there, and they discharge what they discharge, you may agree or disagree, and they haven't said that they were motivated to do what they did by Sharia. How on earth could anybody? And yesterday, when I listened to that radio station, the two Muslims, at the end of the day, they said, oh, yes, it's Sharia. We don't have Sharia in Ghana. Mm-hmm. So I think that it must be made very clear. What happened at the Wanas Palace has nothing to do with Sharia. We don't have Sharia in Ghana. And the traditional authorities on Wa never said anywhere. In fact, they haven't said anything that is suggestive that the action that took place there was motivated by Sharia. Okay. What they have said repeatedly is that the conduct of the gentleman and the lady frowns upon their cultural values. Mm-hmm. And since when have cultural values of societies become Islamic jurisprudential positions? Since when? And I think that people must get it very, very clearly. If you have a similar incident happen in southern part of the country, where we have the people to predominantly being Christians, must I just conclude that they were motivated to do that because of laws or Christian laws? And I think we need to get this point very, very clearly.
That's a strong point.
So it has nothing to do with Sharia. Two, and he is a lawyer. I only did LLB. I don't know whether I would one day become a lawyer. The common laws, our laws are made up of common laws and customary laws. Mm-hmm. The common laws of the British, what's their customary laws? How did they come by the common laws? It was their acceptable norms and practices within their societies that they practiced for a very long time, modernized them, coded them, if you like, for them to become common laws. And then we just took those laws, which have nothing to do with our cultural values. Their common law had nothing to do with our way of life. But because they are so-called people who colonizers, they came as criminals, they subjugated us, they robbed our resources, and they imposed on us their systems of laws. Yeah. And when we gained independence, we wanted to come out with something. I guess that we could have come out with our own laws. Yet, we said that let's adopt their system of life, their way of life, the laws that they use to regulate their societies. Societies which now say that a man can marry a man, a woman can marry a woman. Our societies frown upon that. And then we say that let's adopt them and then add our customary laws. But that is not to say that aspects of our customs that are inimical to our progress, we must not get them out. There are several societies in Ghana where certain practices were upheld and practiced. But with time, They didn't even need law to tell them that you need to do away with some of these practices. We did away with them. The hypocrisy, particularly from the Ghana Bar Association, which is becoming a very hypocritical group of people. And the Amnesty International is telling, and you are here, you are a member of that bar association. Oh, I'm coming, please, let me just finish. Why? We have had reports in this country where people have been banished. Banished by chiefs. I never heard a jot from the Ghana Bar Association or the Amnesty International. Isn't that also a violation of the rights of the people? Which one? Give me one example. I'm saying that one where they banish people that the GBA did something about. Give me one. None. If you give it the whole day, you won't find one.
No, but I didn't know you're calling for this. But I said they mentioned something of national. You know when COVID came, the law, this stiff punishment, up to 10 years in prison.
I'm not talking about,
but that has nothing to do with it. It's talking about traditional.
I'm saying that where traditional authorities have banished people. Yesterday, I just Googled and I realized that we have had several of such incidences reported in this country. The Ghana Bar Association never ordered a single statement, issued a single statement.
So what's your problem?
Let me finish. In condemning it. Again, please. Look, is that like female genital mutilation? Everybody condemns it. I am saying that where people have been banished, where traditional authorities specifically have taken action to banish people. I'll give you another classical example. Comrade Kwesi Pratt made statement about some traditional leader in this country. Chiefs came out and said that they banned him from visiting those places. What was the Ghana Bar Association? Where was the Amnesty International? Look, I agree with the language used by Ghana Bar Association and Amnesty International in this incident. Now, don't get me wrong. I totally disagree with the flogging of the gentleman and the lady, particularly publicly. But the hypocrisy of this group of people is telling. Just recently, at the Lama Shana Palace in the Tamale Metropolitan Assembly, a gentleman was gunned down by police. That boy was a 14-year-old boy awaiting his BECE results. And if you read what the gentleman said to your station, carried the story. The Ghana Bar Association and Amnesty International didn't see the need to even issue a statement. To the extent that every single media house in this country carried the story. We made statements on this on the floor of Parliament. Another recently, you had a whole community where the police went there to effect arrest of someone who engaged in illegal connection of electricity. And they beat any young man on site. Station carried the Ghana Bar Association and the Amnesty International never gave a jot about that. And again, in this country, you had a member of parliament who went to participate in an electoral process at Ayawaso. He was beaten to pulp. The Ghana Bar Association and Amnesty International didn't see the need to issue a statement. Just again in this country, please, let me finish. You had people who went to participate in an electoral process where you had men with guns, military officers and police officers, gunned down 7 or 8 young men and a woman. The Ghana Bar Association and the Amnesty International never issued a single statement. But let me sum it up with this.
Yeah. Your point is the consistency, lack of consistency.
Exactly. You have an important arm of our democratic processes. Here, we just spoke about the need for us to jealously and collectively guide and protect our democratic processes. Parliament of Ghana was attacked under the supervision of ministers of state. Gun military men and policemen went in there with guns. The Ghana Bar Association didn't even issue a statement. The Amnesty International didn't even issue a statement. What hypocrisy is this? So I'm saying that when you have people banished from coming to certain areas, they never issue a statement. This one, they have the temerity, the audacity to issue a statement. The last people I'll take serious are this group of people. And I'm saying, in as much as we collectively condemn the flogging of the young man and the woman, what is missing in all this debate is the illegality perpetrated by these two people. In the first place, if you listen to the report, at least by one journalist, the Joe FM reporter, he said, if it is true or not, but this was what he said, Rafik. He said that the information is that the young lady leaked the video. And that she leaked the video after she demanded monies to be paid by the guy, and the guy refused. Isn't a question of illegality. But that is not to justify that they could have done what they have done. But where people have indeed occasioned similar incidences, they took them to chief palaces and they asked them to pay goods and other things. Isn't also that a violation of their rights? So I'm saying that the consistency matter. So when you have several of such incidences, Look, you just mentioned Major
I have a
Mahama.
minute.
You just mentioned Major Mahama. You were defending the Ghana bar. Did you people issue a statement in the matter of the murder of Major Mahama? A single statement, did you?
It's been long, so I'm trying to check.
No, you didn't. You see, you have been checking, you can't find one. So I'm saying that the hypocrisy, my problem, look, lawyer, the hypocrisy, and don't get me wrong, I agree with every single word used in the statement issued by these two groups, that the flogging was unacceptable, it was dehumanizing. But let's call a spade a spade. The hypocrisy of this group of people is telling.
Thank you very much. Now, Emmanuel Kutin has also joined us. He is a security analyst, quite a regular on the big issue. The reason why he's here is also because...
Bishop, guys, his new appearance, I couldn't
We've had a conversation before, the police and citizen relations, and the second part of
you
this...
can't find it. Just wait, don't stop
is the attack on the police station by citizens by residents of Wa. And for those of us who monitored it was scary. Because if you require 100 policemen fully armed to,
disperse.
De-escalate the situation
over
2 hours. The fire, you had everything there. They also feel there's a significant disconnect between the police and citizenry. And it's not just there. You put that in conjunction with what happened in Nkranza, for instance. There have been pockets of incidents where you have citizens now not being afraid to mass up and walk to police stations and set it on fire, or to free suspects who have been arrested unjustifiably or unjustly in their thinking. What is going on here? How can we fix this?
Well, Godfred, good afternoon, and good afternoon to my fellow.
It's still morning.
It's still morning to my fellow panelists.
No, because of the economic mess.
I'm humble.
We don't even know the time difference. It's true.
Mutala never surprise anybody. Anyway, I'm happy the position of the law has been explained, and my brother to have brought the religious aspect and being an Islamic scholar. I'm happy
I'm just a student.
The dimension of the Syria law has been put to rest, so I can speak strictly on the security.
Yes.
You see, I'm particularly worried because Upper West, especially, why it's a border town, and given what is happening around us. And if you go to history and you look at what happened in Nigeria, how Boko Haram came about, it started like the very incident that happened in Wa. If you recall, some form of punishment was meted out to some ladies, and the law came in, the law enforcers came in, and the youth rioted, and then there were some killings and stuff, and that gave birth to Boko Haram and Syria law we have now. Sharia
yes.
In Nigeria. So I think that it's particularly worrying, given that we are not living in normal times, because we have terrorism knocking at our borders. It's just by the grace of God. Sometimes we are spared some of these things. But there are certain questions that come into perspective. How was the video procured? Was it procured illegally? And like my brother said, I have also picked intelligence. The lady leaked the video to blackmail the man. And to me, it was purely intelligence failure. The security agencies in Wa cannot say that a group of 100 people can mass out in a chief palace. For something like this to happen, and they didn't pick intelligence to the act. And if you live in communities like that, I come from the north, mostly those events don't happen in a vacuum. Mostly those information goes around to community elders that there's so and so processes going on, and your presence at the chief palace will be required. So that's why I'm putting the blame squarely on the security architecture in the region, given that it's a border town and intelligence should have been very up. And COP Ndebugri is one very respected policeman. If you recall, before he went to Wa, the Bole Bamboy Road was a place you can travel in the night. And you remember the style he used in staging and the armed robbers running into them. They dress as market women and stuff, properly armed, in the trotro vehicle. And the armed robbers thought it was their usual, and stopped them. And that was how they were able to eliminate the syndicate. That is why I'm particularly worried that an incident like this can pass. And it brings to the fore how we politicize our society and the relationship between governance and religion. You will agree with me that we have so much religious tolerance, especially between the Christians and the Muslims. But we have not brought the traditional aspect on board. So if you look at the traditional authority, they live as if they are laws unto themselves. And that comes into perspective if you look at how our chiefs carry themselves and how politicians even run to our chiefs. They do things and they can be brought to book. So it looks as if we are leaving the third arm of the religious engagement and just limiting it to Christians and Muslims. We can't run away from the traditional authority. We even have a Ministry of Chieftaincy Affairs in this country. It's a ministry I think is underfunded, and we don't really see what they do.
You should be asking the Minister.
So, essentially, if we had engaged our traditional authorities by way of educating them about common law and our traditional values, some of these things would have never happened. And if you have ever lived in Parliament, you realize that the elders that lead these chiefs are people who have not had education. And they are the traditional forebearers of the stool. So mostly, before information even comes to the chief, they have already taken their position. They will merely tell the chief that this is that. And in their own understanding, it is against their own traditional values. Now, education comes in. Does the traditional values supersede common law? That's what Martin was talking about. So we need to engage the traditional authorities given the times we are living in so that we don't move and leave them behind. If we do that, we will always have these challenges. You were mentioning the disturbances in Tamale. Yeah. It's practically the same thing. If we had engaged these traditional authorities, give them some form of education and engage them properly, I don't think these things will be happening. And it also boils down to crowd control measures. And we talk about this thing every now and then. I would think our security personnel must have a second look at how they respond to some of these challenges. It shouldn't be necessary by weapons. Look, in the traditional setup, you know how it is done. If the youth are agitating and you identify their ringleader or someone who can talk to them, and such an activity don't happen, it's always the best. And look, they have people they listen to. Yeah. When they can mass up to cause distraction, but when that person comes and say no, they leave it. So our traditional authorities, our security agencies, especially those living around the border regions, they must know how they relate with the traditional authorities and opinion leaders within these traditional authorities. It's not all the time you have to weigh gun and show power. Look, mass protests, the gun can never stand the mass protest. You remember what happened in Tunisia, the Arab Spring? They couldn't do anything, and we don't want to get to that point. Another thing we need to look at seriously, and I was very happy universally we all condemned it. That is very good. But have we asked what triggers the youth to be able to mobilize, to go and attack the police station. Those are things we are not looking at. It means that there's a catalyst behind there. And until we can unravel the catalyst behind their actions, talking about it will amount to nothing. Incidences like this will happen and they will mass up again and attack the police station. So it falls back to the final point you raised about the police-community relations. I think we have to deepen it. We have to move a torch notch ahead and see how policing lately is about intelligence gathering. And Ndubugiri cannot sit in his office and be a rocket scientist and know whatever is happening within the communities. Per the relationship you will have with community leaders and the opinion leaders, that is how you can be effective. So it's all about training. It's not late. And it's a very unfortunate incident. I'm happy it has been brought under control. But the thing is that the police cannot run away from
what happened,
from taking the blame. And the people they arrested, I think that the judge did a very good thing.
Yes.
By granting them bail.
But you suspect they should have led to more agitation
I tell
if
you,
they had been
it
kept.
would have been worse. So I praise the judge for putting human security in her own perspective in adjudicating the case.
Because indeed, if you read the case, she actually did say in open court that she was declining the prosecutor's request for bail because if she looks at the situation, it would not help.
But come on, lawyer, you would attest to it. When a student steals, per the University of Ghana rules, that student would have to be sacked or suspended. I'm not too sure. But Commonwealth Hall has their own tradition with the University Authority. The student steals.
Go no straight.
So even the vice chancellor will know that this person has stolen. But until it is reported to them. So I guess that was a similar case in Wa, that they knew that there was a problem there. But a form of Gono.
But the university found a very, very useful solution to Gono.
Yes.
They dried the
place. But Gono is just a symbolism. I remember even when they dried it, they still took the student there.
No point you there.
The point is that you should be exposed. And there were students who were so courageous. After Gono, you see them again on campus. And a student who stole at the time, I don't know what is happening now, was comfortable. Because once Gono, he's taken through Gono, you know what they used to do? They will write,
I'm a thief.
Yes, I'm a thief. You can't steal again. Then you are on one side of the main road. Then the entire student body is on the other side. They mark you from from the top
down
up to the main entrance, phone you, and then mark you back. And you are safe. Your academic, objective will still be in place, but you wouldn't. So I guess sometimes it is not about the laxity, because the police cannot tell us that they were unaware of what was. If you know the distance between the police station and the one nurse palace,
it's so close.
Yes, you cannot tell me. But I guess under the circumstance, did they have the manpower? Like you said, did they have the manpower? Did they have the manpower to go there and stop them? That's one question. How many police officers were there? Were they prepared? Now, if they were ill-prepared, I'm saying at that material moment, of course, there's no denying the fact that there was a failure in terms of intelligence gathering.
Yes, if they had that relationship, just a phone call.
No, my point is just the incident. Clearly, there was a failure in terms of intelligence gathering. There was a failure in terms of the police-human relations as far as why is concerned. There was a failure in terms of the relationship they have with the traditional authorities. But granted that they failed in all this, they still had a responsibility to have stopped what happened to take place. But the only inselbeck that prevented them from doing so, I guess, was perhaps they didn't have the manpower. They couldn't have done that. Look at the example you gave, about 100 police officers. It took them several hours to be able to prevent what happened. And I think for me, it's very, very significant. They gave the police force about 400 vehicles. Without giving them anything on crowd control.
Excellent.
Anyway, let me read messages.
I didn't conclude.
Time is up.
Okay,
let me give the rest of the time to my audience. The Tamale Central MP is speaking my mind.
I didn't conclude.
I admire people who like you speak to issues the way they ought to be. May Allah bless him. This is DJ Bruce from Tumu in the Upper West region. This one is This one says, Godfred, good morning. My question is this. The government embarks on the building of a cathedral with the hope, and he puts the hope in bold, that individuals, entities are going to contribute towards this building. Thus, the government didn't have the full amount of money required to build this. However, they start with the project, not knowing where the full amount budgeted is coming from. At a point, the finance minister asked Ghanaians to contribute 100 Ghana cedis or something along those lines. So as the project starts, and from the look of things, the expected donations are not forthcoming, which is why the government is so far dipping its hands into our taxes and calling it seed money. How is this project going to be completed? Are we not at the risk of government suddenly using taxpayers' money to go on this mission on our blind side? Because indeed, if this document of the 25 million Ghana cedis wasn't leaked, we wouldn't have known. Isn't this dishonesty in an attempt to build a place of honesty and holy activities? This one of my listeners. This is Peter from Omanjo. Good morning. This government never accepts any wrongdoing. It's always the fault of nature or some misfortune. As for the National Cathedral, the least said, the better. These are the thoughts that have come to them. And very big thank you. Mutala.
Hello.
Mutala, your time is up. Your time is up. Franklin Kujo and Professor Lord Venza as well. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Big Issue. Have a good weekend and see you next week.